The Miami Dolphins are coming off back-to-back 9-8 seasons, but have come into this offseason ready to get over the hump in 2023. Miami has brought in a ton of talent throughout this year's free agency period and the NFL draft. And in my opinion, I believe the sky is the limit for this team next season as long as they can stay healthy going forward. In this video, I'll be breaking down the entirety of the Dolphins offseason, who they brought in, and what they will bring to the team next season. However, before we jump into today's video, make sure you guys do me a favor and smash that like button. It helps out the channel so much you don't even understand. So let's see if we get it up to 400 likes. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will be covering the Dolphins and the rest of the NFL all year long, so join the family. And one last thing, comment down below, who do you think is going to be the biggest sleeper in this year's draft class for the Miami Dolphins? But without any further ado, let's jump right into today's video. Now, let's start off with the offensive side of the ball. As we all know, Miami's offense was pretty solid last season, and realistically, they didn't need to do too much, other than bringing in some wide receiver depth, maybe even a running back as well as some offensive line help. But overall, they didn't really need to improve the offense too much coming into the offseason. But with that being said, the Dolphins actually only had 4 draft picks in this draft, and they used 3 of those on the offensive side of the ball. Now, firstly, bringing in Devon Achaney out of Texas A&M, a running back who is phenomenal, man. The Dolphins have been looking for a game-changing running back for a very long time, and this man can change the whole dynamic of this offense next season. Devon brings a top-tier speed along with Raheem Mostert, who is also very fast, and then nice little power back in Jeff Wilson, as well as Myles Gaskin as well. I think they have 4 very different running backs that can affect the game in multiple different ways. So I think it's just going to make this offense so much more versatile and dynamic going forward. But I do believe that Devon will be a very impactful player from day one, but he has the potential to be a cornerstone of this offense for years to come. He possesses elite speed, explosiveness, acceleration, and amazing ball security. I love this selection here for the Dolphins, even though they could have went defense. I do love this pick a lot. I think Devon can be a big-time game changer for the Dolphins going forward. Now, the Dolphins also added a wide receiver in Elijah Higgins out of Stanford. Now, Elijah has the ability to play multiple different positions, including wide receiver and tight end, a big-time catch radius, and a red zone threat that can, add some versatility to this team next season. Now, I'm not sure how much he's going to play in the regular season, but if he can make a name for himself, in rookie camp, mini camp, training camp, and all that, he could definitely earn some regular season playing time. But as of right now, don't look for him to be a big-time playmaker or a big-time player on this offense going forward, just because they already have a couple of guys here on this team that have proven themselves. You got, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Cedric Wilson, Robbie Anderson, and some other guys we'll talk about a little later. But low-key, I think that Elijah Higgins could come out and play a tight end, most likely right away. You got, Eric Sauber, you got Durham Smythe, Tyler Croft, and then Elijah Higgins. So he could be a tight end on this roster. We'll see what happens. I do like the pick late in the 6th round, I think it was. And then with their last pick of the draft, they selected an offensive tackle in Ryan Hayes out of Michigan. And there's so much to like about Ryan Hayes, starting with his solid frame. He's 6'6", 300 pounds, and adds great value here in the 7th round. He does need some development, and don't expect him to come out and be a day 1 starter by any means, but he might be a few years away from being a big contributor on this Dolphins team going forward. But he holds all of the skill set to become a really solid tackle in this league. He just needs some development. But they have some good guys over there that can help him develop and mold him into a great player, like Teron Armstead and some other guys as well. Should be able to help mold him into a solid player. Now, through free agency, the Dolphins also got better in other ways, not just the draft, but like I said, through free agency. Now, bringing in a couple of new former Jet wide receivers in Braxton Berrios and Robbie Anderson. Now, both these guys will step up right away and add some great depth to this wide receiver room going forward, and simply just more competitiveness. Now, Robbie Anderson, if you don't know, is a flashy speed threat who can get down the field and make big-time plays all over the place. And personally, one of the fastest wide receiver groups in the NFL, just got even faster with Robbie Anderson. Over Robbie's 8-year career, he's brought in 375 receptions, over 4,900 yards, 29 touchdowns, averaging 13.2 yards per catch in 111 games. Now, as for Braxton Berrios, he's primarily a better route runner who can create separation by just using his quick first step. But over his 4-year career, he's brought in 107 catches, over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, averaging about 10.1 yards per catch over a 65-game stretch. Now, overall, this wide receiver room is looking so much deeper compared to what it was last year. Now, look, you got, like I said earlier, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Cedric Wilson, River Craycraft, Robbie Anderson, Braxton Berrios, Eric Uzama, Freddie Swain. You got the rookie and Elijah Higgins, who could play tight end. But overall, I love what this wide receiver room is looking like right now. I think they've brought so many new guys in here, and I think this team does have a lot of potential, at least in this wide receiver room going into next season. Now, they also brought in former Broncos tight end Eric Sauber and another tight end in Tyler Kroft, who will both add competition and depth to this team next season. I have no idea who's going to be the starter day one. I feel like it's going to be a 3-man race between Tyler Kroft, Eric Sauber, and Durham Smythe. But let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think will be the next starting tight end for the Miami Dolphins next season? But the defense is where they needed to improve the most coming into 2023. The good news is that they already made some major moves to improve this defense already, but still have a lot of work to do. However, before we jump into the defensive side of the ball, make sure you guys do me a favor, smash that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. Even if you're new, I will be covering the NFL draft, so make sure you guys, or not the NFL draft, the NFL season, so make sure you guys, subscribe if you're new, join the family, turn on your post notifications so you're notified every time we drop some news in the NFL. But let's get right back into the video. So overall, this past defense needed a major upgrade, or even upgrades, but the amazing news is the Dolphins already made some huge splashes already. With their first draft selection, they selected Cam Smith, a DB out of South Carolina. Now, Smith is an absolute dog at the position who adds physicality and someone who would do whatever it takes to win every rep. He also possesses amazing athleticism, speed, and explosiveness, solid in both the pass coverage and stopping the run. I think he's very versatile. I don't know if he's going to be a day one starter, strictly because they have Xavier Howard, they have Jalen Ramsey, which we'll talk about in a second. They also have Kader Kahu. But I do think Cam Smith has the potential to be a big-time player in just a couple of seasons. He was their first pick of the draft, and look for him to make a huge impact, if not this year, but many years to come in the future. Now, throughout free agency, the Dolphins really started to go crazy. With their first major splash was trading for stud defensive back Jalen Ramsey. One of the best cornerbacks in the league for the last, 4 to 5 years, is on his way to join the Miami Dolphins in what now can be a lockdown secondary. Jalen Ramsey has put up over 452 tackles, 375 solo, 2 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, 19 interceptions, 92 pass deflections, as well as 21.5 run stuffs as well in an 8-year span. Now, you pair that up with Xavier Howard and Javon Holland, this could be a deadly combination. They also have 2 young guys who can really shine in 2023, and Kader Kahu and potentially Brandon Jones as well, who will both be fighting for a starting job in this defense next season. And a guy we mentioned earlier, Cam Smith, all could be fighting for a job. I'm loving what they've done to the secondary, but that wasn't it. The Dolphins decided to sign Deshaun Elliott, who is a young stud safety that has shown flashes for both Detroit and Baltimore over his 4-year career, tallying up 205 tackles, 149 solo, 3.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and also 2 interceptions as well. Now, he definitely, or most likely, won't be a day one starter, but he could be able to come into training camp and in preseason and earn that job. Right now, he's behind Brandon Jones, the strong safety, the former third-round pick back in 2020. But I think Deshaun Elliott, has the strength, has the ability, has the skill set to, be a starter on this team going forward. He's just going to have to prove himself going forward in training camp and mini camp and the preseason as well. But Miami didn't stop there either. They added a couple of linebackers who I believe can really help or make a big impact on this team going forward. Most notably, David Long Jr., a middle linebacker coming over from the Tennessee Titans, and he should be a day one starter with this team going forward. A really solid linebacker. Now, David Long is a young 26-year-old linebacker who has shown some really good potential over his 4-year career, bringing in 230 tackles, 137 solo, 2 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, and 26.5 stuffs as well. A very versatile linebacker who can contribute both in the passing game and stopping the run. Now, the Dolphins also brought in another guy in Malik Reed, an edge rusher who will primarily add depth and a sense of spark plug, who can rotate in and make a big play, contributing some pressure to the quarterback. Now, over his 4-year career, he's rallied up 148 tackles, 82 solo, 16 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 9.5 stuffs. Overall, a solid pass rusher off the bench behind a guy like Bradley Chubb, who is amazing. Overall, Miami needed to add some DB help on this roster, and they did exactly that, adding a couple of big-time players in Cam Smith, Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun Elliott, and also bringing in some linebackers and some offensive guys as well. I think the Dolphins did an amazing job adding to this roster going into next season. Now, when we just take a look at what they brought in, the roster right now, the way it's contributed, I mean, they have guys everywhere from Jalen Waddle to Tyreek Hill, Cedric Wilson. You also got Robbie Anderson and Braxton Berrios as well. The wide receiver room looks good. The offensive line maybe needs some work going forward, but I like what they have at the moment. Tight end room, we have no idea who's going to be the starter, but I like Durham Smythe. I like Sauber coming over from Denver. Tyler Kroft coming over from the 49ers. You bring in a rookie in Elijah Higgins. He could compete for a big-time job. They need Tua to stay healthy, man. Tua staying healthy is probably the most important thing to their future of this team. If he can stay healthy, the sky is the limit. And then in the running back room, I mean, you got speed, nothing but speed in Raheem Mostert and Devon Cheney. You also got Jeff Wilson, Myles Gaskin, and Salvin Ahmed as well. So I'm loving the offense for this team. Now, the defense is where they got a lot better. You also have Zach Sealer coming over from Baltimore. You got Raekwon Davis, the former second-round pick back in 2020 at nose tackle. Christian Wilkins, who is just insanely talented. The defensive tackle, the former first-round pick. You got Jalen Phillips. I mean, they've done so much over the past, 4 or 5 years to bring in a bunch of talent on this defensive line with, Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, Jalen Phillips. Also got Jalen Twyman. You got Josiah Bronson, Emmanuel Ogbah. I love this defensive line. And then they bring in a guy like David Long Jr. from Tennessee. You also re-sign Andrew Van Ginkel, who can play a little bit of linebacker. You got Channing Tindall. You got Jerome Baker. You got Bradley Chubb, Duke Riley, Malik Reed. So, I mean, all this linebacker core looks good as well. And then the DB group is where they really got better. Xavier Howard is now paired up with Jalen Ramsey, one of the best cornerbacks in the entire league. You also got Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, the former second-round pick, Kahoo. You got Cam Smith, Deshaun Elliott, Keon Crossen, Nick Needham, Trill Williams. I mean, there is so many good players all over this team. Let me know how you guys feel about this roster going into 2023. How far do you think they can make it? Do you think they're contenders? Do you think they'll come up just short? What do you think they can do to improve this roster going forward? But hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, join the family, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.